We're at the top of page 66. And I shall know some savor of elation amidst the cares, the woes, and the vexation. Pushkin. So I want you to look up on the internet or in the dictionary what the word vexation means and put a sticky there. July 29th, 1920, Antwerp, Belgium. Dear Tova, Antwerp is a wonderful city. The people are so kind and generous, even the children. I play with them in the park outside my room. Giselle is the name of the girl who reminds me of Hannah. She really isn't like Hannah at all, now that I've come to know her. She is more practical and solid than Hannah. She brings her ball to the park and we play catch. I have learned many bouncing rhymes, though I don't always understand what I am singing. The children laugh at my accent, but not in a cruel way. It seems I have lived in Antwerp always. The old couple I board with, Marie and Gaston, are kind to me. They enjoy when I speak with them in Flemish. Gaston laughs and claps his hands when I tell him a story about my day. Listen to her, Marie, he crows. Is she not wonderful? I can hardly believe that it ever felt strange to me here. The bridges over the canals, the market at the Gruneplatz, the beautiful carriages and horses trotting along the streets, the cabarets, and the hula dancers, they are all so familiar to me now. I wish Mama and Papa were here. The boys, too, and you, Tova, and Hannah, and Uncle Avram, and Bubba Ruth, everyone. I wish you were all here. How I would love to share this wonderful city with you. Okay, so I want you to take a note. I want you to look up what a cabaret is on a sticky and define it. Middle of page 67. Not only are the people kind in Belgium, but the food is splendid. Sister Katrina and the lady from the highest have introduced me to so many new tastes. Almost always I eat in the market. It costs very little, so I'm saving Papa's money, and the food, Tova, you wouldn't believe. There is a fruit called a banana, colored yellow like a June sun and curved. You peel the skin off, and underneath is a white fruit, so sweet and creamy it makes even Frusela's milk seem thin by comparison. And ice cream. If the people in Berdichev could taste ice cream, they would give up eating everything else. In the afternoon, the ice cream man comes down King Street with a giant dog pulling his cart. He rings a little bell, and he walks, and we crowd around him. The dog wags its tail and stands very still. I never knew such a dog and such a man. And there's chocolate. This food I found without anyone's help. Belgian chocolate. It is like biting off a little corner of heaven, even better than Mama's pastry. May she never hear me say that. I told Sister Katrina how much I liked the chocolate. Now she always has a piece for me to eat with the tea she serves after my treatment. You must eat foods that are good for you too, Riftka, she says, not just chocolate. I know, I answer, but often I eat nothing but ice cream and chocolate and bananas. See, Tova, I am a little clever. I have found one advantage to being on my own. I eat exactly as I please. Sister Katrina says the ringworm is beginning to heal. She's happy with my progress, but I can tell she worries that there is no hair yet. Okay, now I want you to take a brief note about how Rivka's feelings towards the city, Antwerp, and how her feelings towards the people who are caring for her have changed. What were they like before, and what are they like now? We're near the bottom of page 68. In Antwerp, it doesn't seem to matter that I have no hair. When I first arrived, the lady from the highest took me shopping. She took me to a department store and helped me choose some dresses. I needed new clothes. The Belgians fumigate all your belongings before they let you enter their country, just as the Polish do. Of course, the Belgians are far more kind in the way they treat you. But after 2 fumigations, my old clothes were falling to pieces. While I was shopping with a lady from the highest that first week, I saw a hat that I wanted. a hat that would cover my baldness. I thought if I only owned such a hat, it would not matter so much that I was bald, but I did not have the money. So I started saving, and as soon as I could, I returned to the department store. I would have that hat. With that hat, I would not be ashamed of the way I looked. With that hat, I could hold my head up anywhere. But when I got to the store, the hat was gone, sold to someone else. "We can make you another," said the sales clerk. She took my measurements without saying a word about the scabs on my head. A new hat was made just for me. It is black velvet with shirring. The brim has light blue velvet underneath. Not that the ringworm is clearing up. I don't have to wear kerchiefs all the time. I don't have to sterilize every stitch of cloth that comes near my head. I don't have to look like a poor, needy immigrant Jew from Berdichev. I am hoping I can go to America soon. Sometimes I think I will lose my mind longing for Mama and her yeasty hands, her red-cheeked face, and Papa wrapped in his talus, devoting his knees bent slightly, his body bobbing forward and back, praying in the gray light of dawn. I ache to smell the kindled Sabbath candles, and to hear Papa and Mama's voices raised in prayer, just to hold them and be held by them once more. I miss them so much. And the way Nathan brushed my hair, how he smoothed my tangled curls more gently than Mama ever did. I miss even Saul, and his big feet, and his teasing. I wonder if I can learn to make ice cream when I get to America. I know it has something to do with the milk from a cow, and maybe Bubba Ruth and Frusla can go into business. The Russians don't forbid Jews to make ice cream yet. At least not that I know. Maybe Bubba Ruth can earn enough money making ice cream. She can be as well-to-do as you and Hannah and Uncle Avram. If I can't get you and Bubba Ruth out of the old world, maybe I can at least give you something from the new. Shalom, my cousin, Riftka. Okay, so at this point, I want you to take a note of how differently the Belgians treat Jewish people in the way they treat Rivka. What are some of the kind things that have been done by Sister Katrina and by locals around in owning the shops, and her foster family, Marie and Gaston? What are some ways that they show kindness that Rivka did not receive from the Russians in her home country? The sister of misfortune, hope. In the underdarkness, dumb, speaks joyful courage to your heart. The day desired will come. Pushkin. September 14th, 1920, Antwerp, Belgium. Dear Tova, I am going to America. The nun, Sister Katrina, says my ringworm is completely cured, and the doctor signed my papers. Godspeed, he said. Go ahead. At last, I am free to go to America, to join Mama and Papa and all my giant brothers. It has been an entire year since leaving Berdichev. Such a year. My hair still has not started growing. Sister Katrina says perhaps it never will. I can't imagine going through life with no hair on my head. There are wigs, perukes, but a short, ugly peruke on my head? What a thought. Okay, I don't know what a peruke is, so I want you to go ahead and look it up, and you can tell me in class what it is. And make a note on a sticky. My hair, top of page 72. My hair was the only nice thing about me. Still, I'm trying to remember your advice, Tova, to rely on my wits and not my looks. I don't look so bad in a hat or with my kerchief, not really, once you get used to it. I hope Mama can get used to it. As for my being clever, even with what Sister Katrina and the lady from the highest say about me and languages, I'm still not so sure. The lady from the highest helped me to buy my ticket. She looks very much like the highest lady in Warsaw. little and energetic, with an unruly silver bun on top of her head. Maybe they must all look like this to work for the highest. Maybe I should also work for the highest when I grow up. I am certainly the right height, though I might have difficulty with the bun if my hair does not grow. The highest lady took me around to the steamship company as soon as the doctor gave me permission to leave. She advised me to buy a ticket on a small ship leaving Antwerp tomorrow. I could wait for 2 more weeks and sail on a big ship, but I don't want to wait. Besides, if I sailed on the big ship, I would have to sail to America in steerage. Steerage is what they call it when all the poor people crowd together down in the belly of the ship. People in steerage have no privacy, not an inch of space to turn from their left or to the right. That is how Mama and Papa went across the ocean, and from the way they described it in their letter, I wouldn't like it very much at all. The rich people on such boats travel in first class or second class, but the poor people travel in steerage. So I bought my ticket on the ship that has no classes. All the people traveling to America on this ship are equal. It is very democratic. Democratic is one of the words that the lady from the highest has taught me. So I want you to look up the use of this word. What does it mean? It is very democratic. And make a note on the sticky. We hear it like Democrats versus Republicans, but in this case, it's used different. So I want you to see what she means when the ship is very democratic, and you can get a sense of it in context to the way it's used. Middle of page 73. I've been learning English. The highest lady brings me books and tutors me. Once she took me to an American movie about Tom Mix. Tom Mix is a cowboy, Tova. Do you know what that is? He rides around on a horse all the time and shoots at bad people. I think Tom Mix loves his horse as much as Uncle Zeb loved Latka. I remember Uncle Zeb now, like he was in a dream. So many new things fill my life, Tova. I need to remind myself of how we struggled in Berdichev. If it were not for the pushkin and for the letters to you, I would sometimes think I had dreamed all the terrible things about Russia. But when I read the pushkin, I know my memories are real. This morning, I said goodbye to my friends in the park, especially Giselle. I've decided to bring a present to Sister Katrina to thank her for all that she has done. She loves flowers. I will go to the market at the Gruneplatz and buy her the most beautiful bouquet I can find. I have money. Papa has been sending it to me all along, and except for some food and clothes, I have spent very little. Tonight, Marie and Gaston have planned for me a little party. Tova, when I get to America, an entire ocean will stand between us. Until now, I have come back to Berdichev, not safely. Until now, I could have come back to Berdichev, not safely, but still, I could have come back. Only land separated us. Now there will be this great ocean between us. I can't swim across an ocean to get back to Berdichev. And you know something, Tova? I don't want to. I will work in America and find a way to do everything. Everything just as I told the Polish girl on the train from Matzev. Maybe when I write and tell you how wonderful America is, you will change your mind and come too, bringing the rest of our family with you out of Russia. Then we will all be together again. Aunt Anna, Uncle Avram, Hannah, Baba Ruth, everyone, especially you, Tova. Tova and Riftka. Imagine it. 2 clever girls in the United States of America. Shalom, my dear cousin, Riftka. Top of page 75. We numbered many in the ship. Some spread the sails, some pulled. Together the mighty oars, 'twas placid weather. The rudder in his steady grip, our helmsman silently was steering the heavy galley through the sea, while I, from doubts and sorrows free, sang to the crew. Pushkin. September 16th, 1920, somewhere on the Atlantic Ocean. Dear Tova, the ship is excellent. I have a little room with a bed bolted to the floor and a table that folds out. A small round window looks out over the sea. But who wants to stay shut up in a cabin when there is so much to do? Such a lounge there is, with a player piano and polished wood counters. The lounge reminds me of your salon back in Berdichev, only much larger. There are dances at night, and the passengers whirl about on the parquet floor. During the day, a young sailor named Peter puts brushes on his feet, and he dances all alone, polishing and waxing. As he works, he sings and tells jokes to me. Out on the deck are chairs for days of reading. They are bolted down like my bed, so they won't shift in heavy seas. Of course, we've had nothing like heavy seas since we boarded, just clear skies and a gentle breeze. Sometimes, Peter says, there are storms so fierce I think the ship will break apart. Peter is such a joker. I am never certain whether to believe him or not. We trade songs, and Peter teaches me little dances when he is not on watch. He is like another brother to me, only he is better somehow than a brother, though he teases me every bit as much as Saul does, but it doesn't annoy me when Peter teases. I like it. If I sit down in one of these chairs with our pushkin, Peter rushes over and tucks a blanket around my legs. Is there anything else I can do for you, Miss Riftka? He asks. He treats me like a little Tsarina. Me, Riftka Nabrat. Sometimes I pinch myself. Only in Hannah's games did I feel so special. How Hannah would love this, Tova. You would too. Okay, I want you to stop here and take a note. First of all, we can kind of guess what Tsarina is. Try to look it up and see if you can find a definition on the internet, but you can probably kind of guess what it's in her language or from her culture. So if we were to put this in context and said, he treats me like a little, what word would you use? And write that on a sticky. Also, I want you to know, how does Riftka feel differently about Peter than she does about her brothers? How is it slightly different? We're near the top of page 77. The ocean is so big. Everywhere you look in, every direction swells this dark, billowing water. It rises and falls as if it were breathing, and the ship skates over the surface. I worried that perhaps I would feel seasick. I heard so many stories, and some others on the ship complain, but I do not feel the least bit ill. I feel healthier than I have ever felt in my entire life, even if I don't have any hair on my head. Today I had the most interesting conversation with Peter. He had a few minutes before he went on duty, and we walked around the deck talking. He told me he had 9 brothers. No sisters, I asked. No, he said. Mama kept looking for a girl, but we kept coming out boys. I told him about Isaac and Asher and Reuben and Nathan and Saul. And then there is me, I said. All those sons and then a daughter, Peter said. You are a treasure to your mama and papa, and to your brothers. I've never met my brothers Isaac and Asher and Reuben, I told Peter. They left for America before I was born, so I don't know if I am a treasure to them. But I assure you, I am no treasure to my brother Saul. To Nathan, maybe, but not to Saul. Can you imagine, Tova? Me? A treasure? I told Peter, really, I don't believe anyone in my family thinks of me as a treasure. Peter said, if this is true, then your family is blind. I lowered my eyes for modesty's sake, but I couldn't help the smile that tugged at my lips, Tova. Peter said, you are such a brave girl, Riftka, and so clever to have managed on your own. I had told him about our escape from Berdichev and about the typhus and how Mama and Papa had to leave me behind. I would not be so clever, Peter said, to learn so many languages. You speak Flemish better than I do, and I have lived in Belgium all 17 years of my life. Again with the languages, Tova, why do people always make such a to-do? Peter, I said, you are full of nice words, but I am not certain I deserve them. You call me brave, but I will tell you what is brave. My Aunt Anna is brave, and my little grandmother. They are brave to stay in Russia and live with the hatred for the Jews. They are clever, too. So much more clever. And Berdichev, you must be clever simply to stay alive. For me, since I've left Berdichev, life has been easy except that I have been apart from Mama and Papa. I have been met with such kindness. No, I'm not so brave, Peter. If I were brave, I would have stayed in Russia. Maybe, Peter said. Maybe they are very brave, the ones you left behind in your homeland, but are they clever? My cousin Tova is very clever, I told Peter. She has chosen to stay. I'm a simple boy, Peter said. I can't learn the speech of other countries the way you can. I only travel back and forth across this big ocean. I do not know much, but to me, Riftka, you seem very brave and very clever indeed. Okay, so I want you to take a minute and note Rivka's struggle with her self-worth. It would be hard for her to think of herself as valuable if she got left behind. But remember that she was left behind out of necessity. Her parents didn't want to leave her behind, but because the heads of all the organization insisted, due to her ringworm, she had to. Okay? So Rivka's really struggling with feeling valuable. In what ways has she proven her value? Peter talks a little bit about it here, but also in what ways has she proven that she is smart and she is brave based upon what you've seen in the book so far? So come up with a couple. Near the middle of page 79. Then Peter bent over and kissed me right on my lips, Tova. A warm kiss, with the soft blonde hairs of his mustache tickling me. Just for a moment, I hoped the ship would never arrive in America, and I could go on sailing with Peter across this wide green ocean forever. But when I looked up, Peter's face was red. I have work to do, he said, stammering. He hurried away, leaving me standing on the deck. I don't understand. What did I do that Peter should run away? How clever can I be, Tova? The more I know, the more confused I get. I returned to my cabin and opened our pushkin. I tried to find a poem that said what I was feeling. Sometimes when I read Pushkin's poems, I want to write poems of my own. I wonder if I dare to do such a thing. Saul always said I talked and talked without anything to say, but sometimes I do have something to say. And I feel as if I will explode if I don't write it down, what is in my head and in my heart. Soon I will be in New York City, America. Soon I will be with Mama and Papa and all my giant brothers, Nathan and Saul, and Isaac and Asher and Reuben, brothers I don't even know. In America, maybe, I will write poems. Shalom, my cousin, Riftka. So stop and take a note. Why do you think Peter kissed her and got red-faced and moved and had to go away? How is his situation different than Rivka's? Top of page 81. When suddenly a storm and the wide sea was rearing, the helmsman and the crew were lost. No sailor by the storm was tossed ashore but I, who had been singing. I chant the songs I loved of yore, and on the sunned and rocky shore I dry my robes and all wet and clinging. Pushkin. September 21st, 1920, Atlantic Ocean. Dear Tova, I have lost so much already, and now it seems I must lose more. I nearly drowned at sea in a horrible storm, but I am alive. Everyone did not have my luck, but I am alive. Our ship, which seemed so large and safe when I first boarded, barely survived the fury of the storm. The tempest started during the night while we slept. I had dreams of pogroms of Cossacks on their horses, snapping whips at me, pointing rifles. I heard the crack of a gunshot. In my dream, the countryside was burning. I trembled in your cellar while the fire raged around me. I woke from one terror to another. I had been thrown to the floor of my cabin, tossed from my bed by the rising seas. Quickly, I pulled on my clothes, tying my kerchief with trembling fingers. I opened my cabin door. Though it was still night, the sky was a sickly yellow like an old bruise. I bashed against the ship walls, flung back and forth by the tossing sea as I made my way toward the deck. The ship shivered in the hateful ocean. Twice the floor dropped beneath me suddenly, and I fell. There was so much confusion on deck, no rain yet, but a wind that roared. The seas, which had seemed so gentle yesterday, rose like angry, hungry beasts, mouths open, hovering and crashing over the sides of the ship. Sailors ran like spiders, back and forth in the yellow light. They yelled to each other over the wind, shouting directions. My Peter, clung to a pillar as a wave broke over his shoulders. All the horrors of Russia returned to me. The storm frightened me as much as any pogrom, when the peasants would come after the Jews to burn our homes, to break into our stores, to murder us. My stomach twisted and I knew I would be sick, so I crawled, making my way with difficulty toward the side of the ship. The ship rolled, my stomach rolled with it. I clung to the rail, trying to raise up off of my knees, so I would not soil myself with my own sickness. The ship plummeted from beneath me, and I hit my head on the metal rail. Someone came up behind me and wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. "Peter!" I cried. I didn't realize the waves had drenched me. "Come, Riftka!" Peter yelled over the wind. "You must come away from the side." I started shivering. I could taste blood in my mouth and smell it in my nose. It had a cold, metallic taste that made my stomach twist inside out. I tore away from Peter's grip and ran back to the rail, emptying my stomach over the side. Before I could finish, a wall of water, rose up over me. Peter grabbed me around the waist and hurled me away from the side. The water came crashing down over our heads, slamming us into the deck. Peter held on to me as the water sucked at my body, trying to pull me overboard. If he had not been there, Tova, the ocean would have claimed me. He saved my life. Peter held me until the wave lost its power and slipped away. Then he lifted me to my feet again before another monstrous wave could attack us. "Come," he cried, guiding me toward a hatch. "Quickly! You must stay down in the hold while the storm lasts," Peter shouted over the violent wind. I descended into the ship's hold, looking up once at my friend. His hair lay plastered against his head, and water streamed from his storm clothes. "Peter," I called, "are you putting me in steerage?" Peter laughed. "Brave and clever," he called down to me. The wind screamed around him. "Be careful, Peter," I cried. "I will, Riftka," he answered. I could hear the fear under the calm in his voice. It echoed in my ears as I stumbled down the ship's steep steps. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, I found many of the other passengers already in the hold, huddled together. We were still equal. We were equally miserable, equally frightened for our lives. Everyone got sick, even me. It stank worse than a flood of soured milk down there. Women rocked back and forth, weeping. Men had held their stomachs and moaned. All the time I worried for Peter and the others. I doubted, Tova, that I would live to see my family again. If I'd had the pushkin, I could have read from it. I could have opened it to the pages that held my golden star of David, woven from broom straws, and prayed for our lives on it. But the pushkin remained above, in my cabin, and I could not go after it. We shivered and sweated and retched for 36 hours until the ship stopped its pitching. At last, the hatch was opened and we climbed up out of our hole. There was no more deck left to the ship. Everything once bolted down had been ripped away. The player piano had crashed against a wall and shattered into pieces. Most of the deck chairs were gone too, torn right out of the floor. Twisted metal and bolts stuck up as signs of where the chairs had been. The parquet tiles, what remained of them, were thick with filth from the sea. A sailor lay on the deck wrapped in gauze from head to toe, moaning. My heart jumped into my throat. What if it's Peter, I thought. Oh, Tova, if only I'd known. I ran to the sailor's side, but it wasn't Peter. I asked if there was something I could do for him anyway. He didn't answer. Other sailors were limping or bandaged. I looked for Peter everywhere, but I couldn't find him. Finally, I stopped one of the officers. "Have you seen the boy, Peter?" I asked. "Please, I know you are busy, but could you tell me where I might find him?" The officer looked down at me. He steadied my shoulders in his hands the way Papa had the night he told me of Uncle Zeb's death. "We lost one sailor overboard in the storm," he said. "Peter?" I whispered. The officer nodded. Tova, I felt myself smothering. I couldn't see anything, hear anything. Somehow I found my way back to my cabin, and for the first time since leaving Berdichev, I cried. All the tears that had collected in this enormous year, shoved their way out of my heart, and how I cried. Peter, who said I was so brave, what would he say to me now? I didn't care. I cried for Peter. I cried for myself. I couldn't stop. I didn't want to stop. I cried until I was empty of tears. Then I was still as the sea after the storm. I sit in my cabin and wait. Our ship has sent out a distress call. It cannot move anymore on its own steam. The drum of the engines had been like a heartbeat. Now the heart has stopped. The engines are dead. We must wait for another ship to answer our signal and tow us across the ocean to America. I pray there are no more storms between now and then. We could never survive another fight with the sea. There is an example of simile here, and here it is up above at the top. The drum of the engines had been like a heartbeat. A simile is where we compare two things that are entirely different. The engines are entirely different from a heart, but we see some sort of similarity between them, and that makes the connection a little bit more personal, a little bit more real. It makes for descriptive writing. On page 82, there are two more examples of simile. Look for the word like. I want you to see if you can find an example there. So go back and see if you can find one and write it down on a sticky. We're at the middle of page 87. Tova, suddenly I feel how defenseless we are. Not just Jews, all of us. My mind fills with images of you and Anna and Baba Ruth and Mama and Papa. I see Baba Ruth at the rear of the long house, huddled beside her little stove, sipping tea from the samovar. I see Papa and Mama swallowed up by a strange country called America. I see you, Tova, staring out the window at the empty road, the road that has carried me away from you. I realize how precious our lives are and how brief. I want to come home. The telegram the highest sent from Antwerp to Mama and Papa said I would be arriving in America today. Today I sit in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean on a ship that is dead. What will happen when Papa and Mama come to get me and I'm not there? How will they know when to come back? Will I ever see them again? I'm too tired, Tova, too tired for all this trouble. At this moment, I wish I had never left Berdichev. Shalom, my Tova, Riftka. Okay, at this point, I want you to make a note of the realization that Riftka makes about all life, not just hers. It's in the middle of page 87, that middle paragraph where it says, Tova, suddenly I feel how, and I want you to write what it is that she realizes about everyone's life.